The 2020 Los Angeles Lakers won the championship last night, so congratulations to y'all. We bleed purple and gold over here. I'm your host, TJ Evans, and this is the TJ Evans Show. We're just going to do a quick show, and I want you to subscribe to the page, like the video, and tell your friends about us. We're trying to keep the lights on over here. We're going to talk about what happened last week with the debate between Kamala Harris and Mike Pence. A lot of people think that Kamala Harris won, but she really didn't. She had a lot of antics, and she was interrupting him the same way that Donald Trump was interrupting Joe Biden last week and vice versa. But nobody thought that was a bad thing from her because she's a woman, and you can't say anything about women.
The vice president said, when asked, well, why didn't y'all tell anybody? He said, because the president wanted people to remain calm. Well, let's get no, but Susan, this is important.
Susan,
I want to add, but Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well,
I'm speaking. I'm so glad we went through a little history lesson. Let's do that a little more. In 1864.
Well, I'd like you to answer the question.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Okay.
But what I will say is that the news was distracted by this fly that was on Mike Pence's hair so much to the fact that it was actually a news story covered.
One point when they were talking about systemic racism, I think it's very interesting timing that a fly would land on Mike Pence's head at that particular time when he said that there really wasn't systemic racism. I saw the fly basically go and say, what? I still keep going back to that fly. Because, number one, I've never seen anything like that. It was a fly of color, too, that came at a very, very opportune time. And that is a Saturday Night Live skit waiting to happen on Saturday.
Yeah, that's cool. That really makes sense to really talk about that instead of the actual words that Mike Pence was using. And what he was saying was the truth.
Are you and Joe Biden, if somehow you win this election, going to pack the Supreme Court to get your way?
I'm so glad we went through a little history lesson. Let's do that a little more. In 1864...
Well, I'd like you to answer the question.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Okay. In 1864, one of the, I think, political heroes, certainly of the president, I assume if you also, Mr. Vice President, is Abraham Lincoln. Mm-hmm. Abraham Lincoln was up for re-election. And it was 27 days before the election. And a seat became open on the United States Supreme Court. Abraham Lincoln's party was in charge not only of the White House, but the Senate. But Honest Abe said it's not the right thing to do. The American people deserve to make the decision about who will be the next president of the United States. And then that person can select who will serve for a lifetime on the highest court of our land. And so Joe and I are very clear. The American people are voting right now, and it should be their decision about who will serve on this most important body for a lifetime.
Thank you, Senator Harris.
People, Susan, are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about packing.
You once again gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer.
Trying to answer you now.
The American people deserve a straight answer. And if you haven't figured it out yet, the straight answer is they are going to pack the Supreme Court if they somehow win this election. Men and women, I got to tell you, people across this country, if you cherish our Supreme Court, if you cherish the separation of powers, you need to reject the Biden-Harris ticket. Come November the 3rd, re-elect President Donald Trump, and we'll stand by that separation of powers in a 9-seat Supreme Court.
Yeah, let's talk about packing the court then. Let's talk about the pack. Yeah, I'm about to. So the Trump-Pence administration has been, because I sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Susan, as you mentioned, and I've witnessed the appointments for lifetime appointments to the federal courts, district courts, courts of appeal. People who are purely ideological, people who have been reviewed by legal professional organizations and found to have been not competent, are substandard. And do you know that of the 50 people who President Trump appointed to the Court of Appeals for lifetime appointments, not one is black? This is what they've been doing. You want to talk about packing a court? Let's have that discussion.
All right, thank you, Senator. Let's go on and talk about the issue of racial justice.
I just want the record to reflect she never answered the question. So maybe
you.
the next debate, Joe Biden will answer the question, but I think the American people know the answer.
Thank you, Vice President.
But when it comes to Abraham Lincoln, she's completely at sea. None of what she said was true. Michael Burlingame would know. He runs the Lincoln Studies Department at the University of Illinois at Springfield, and he was baffled by what he saw at the VP debate. I've never seen anything like that quote in all my 36 years of Lincoln research, Burlingame later said. In fact, Lincoln didn't immediately nominate a new Supreme Court justice before the 1864 election because he couldn't.
As usual, the Democratic Party does not want to answer the question about packing the courts. I mean, when Joe Biden was asked this at the debate, he didn't answer. And when Donald Trump asked him again, this was his answer.
There has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
You're gonna pack the court?
Make sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're
to
a
answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the
You want to
question
put a lot of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justices,
the
radical
question-
left.
Would you
Who is
shut up,
on,
man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
Right, gentlemen, I think
And we let that slide. But the media knows that people are starting to notice this. So they went out, caught Joe Biden while he was outside, and asked him a question again. Was his answer any different? Yeah, it was.
They'll know my opinion of court packing when the election is over. Now look, I know it's a great question, y'all, and I don't blame you for asking it. But you know, the moment I answer that question, the headline in every one of your papers will be about that. Other than focusing on what's happening now.
Okay, it wasn't that different. He still wants to wait for voting or something like that. He wants the people to get him in office first, and then he'll tell you what he's going to do. You don't have to know now. Wait until afterwards. Unlike Donald Trump, who told you for a fact what he was going to do and is completely transparent about everything he does. The only thing he wasn't transparent about was his taxes, which for some reason everybody wanted to press him on, and now they finally released them, and they're still tripping about it. I'm sorry, my bad, went off. But they don't want to answer this question about packing the courts because it's a bad idea. And the only reason why they want to do this is because Donald Trump is in office, because it's been known through the years that packing the courts is a bad idea. FDR tried this, and the Democrats that were running the House and the courts, they was like, no, we're not going to do that. That is wrong. And you remember who FDR was. He was leading the country through 2 Great Depressions, which he kind of...
President Roosevelt clearly had the right to send to the United States Senate and the United States Congress a proposal to pack the court. It was totally within his right to do that. He violated no law. He was legalistically absolutely correct, but it was a bonehead idea. It was a terrible, terrible mistake to make, and it put in question, for an entire decade, the independence of the most significant body, including the Congress, in my view, the most significant body in this country, the Supreme Court of the United States of America.
Everyone knows that this is wrong. And one of the main reasons why they're bringing this up again is because Donald Trump has appointed Amy Coney Barrett as the new Supreme Court judge. And people don't like her because they think that she's going to try to overturn Roe versus Wade because she's a devout Catholic. But nobody on the Republican side has said anything about Roe versus Wade. Instead of just waiting to see what happens, they rather just use their word, pounce on it now. Just like how the Republicans are pouncing on Joe Biden for not answering the question about packing the courts. Stupid word, pouncing. But what's really going on is power. It is a power move. The Democrats want to run the government, and in turn, with running the government, making it bigger, they get to run you. And you know what? They're going to let you vote for it. That's why they won't tell you what they're going to do, and they keep on saying all this stuff about Donald Trump being such a bad person. But Donald Trump actually cares about the Constitution. He's actually governing, being a better president, governing more conservative than a lot of people thought. Even during the whole COVID-19, the China flu, he wasn't trying to keep the country locked down like the Democrats was. He's not out there trying to take your guns like fascists do. He's not out there trying to silence your speech like fascists do. No, who is doing that is the Democrats. And you need to pay attention. But that's all I got for you. Do you think that Joe Biden is hiding something? Is that why he's not answering? Or do you think like Joe Biden will be the best president ever, even though he's had 47 years in office and haven't done anything to help anybody? That's all I got for you. Remember, do your own research. Stay vigilant, please.
I've got to ask you about packing the courts, and I know that you said yesterday you aren't going to answer the question until after the election, but this is the number one thing that I've been asked about from viewers in the past couple of days.
Well, you've been asked by the viewers who are probably Republicans who don't want me continuing to talk about what they're doing to the court right now.
Well, sir, don't the voters deserve to know?
No, they don't. I'm not going to play his game. He'd love me to talk about, and I've already said something on packing the court. He'd love that to be the discussion instead of what he's doing now.